Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is George Man, and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Spice and Wolf episode 8. So, what did I think about this week's episode? I thought this week's episode was really good. I thought that they did a really good job at introducing Nora's character, which is a character that I really like from the original, and it's really fun seeing her back once again with her dog Enoch. And we pretty much get some intel on her, and pretty much we also get to see that, Lawrence and Hollow finally get to the destination and see how that's going to play out with all the armor that they got from the previous episode where, they got the credit and all that, and now there's no, they're going to try to trade it into this town. So we're going to see how that plays out in the future episodes. But this week's episode, I thought was really good for what it was. Now, before I go any further with this week's episode, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my anime and manga, as well as all my Spice and Wolf content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's episode. So in this week's episode, we start off where we left off, where it's pretty much Lawrence pretty much talking to Nora. And we see that Hollow, she ain't liking it. Hollow right off the bat, super jealous, super jealous. And it makes sense. I mean, we know that, she is the wise wolf, and obviously a wolf does not like shepherds because shepherds are all about protecting their sheep and all that. So obviously already mad. Also, she's jealous of her looks, which, by the way, just so you guys know, Hollow is best girl, so there's no real competition. Nora's a cute girl and all, but nah, Hollow top tier. Just saying. But pretty much what happens is, we see them Lawrence introducing himself to Nora, and he's like, how about you work for me? And he's like, okay, cool. So she starts guiding them throughout it all, and he's asking well, where do you work? He's like, oh, I work as a shepherd, and I'm pretty lonely most of the time. Because Lawrence is like, why did you take the job? Why did you accept my offer? And she's like, honestly, I'm being pretty alone. And that's something that Lawrence is like, yeah, I can relate to. And I thought that was a really good moment and very important because from experience, I mean, he's been a traveler and he was traveling by himself as a merchant this entire time until he met Hollow. So he sees a little bit of himself in Nora, and I think that they did a really good job with that. We do know that, Nora has her little dog, Enoch, but still, it's not, she's somebody to keep her company, but she even says it's nice to meet people and talk to them because she's pretty alone and it's pretty sad, So it was really nice to Lawrence and them, take her on the job offer, and, it was cool. And what happens is, as they go, continue their little journey, eventually it starts getting late, and she's like, hey, I gotta set camp because, the wolves and all that show up at night, so I gotta make sure I'm well rested. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So what happens is, as, she proceeds to, right before she goes to sleep, Lawrence and her have a nice little conversation, and this conversation's just pretty much Lawrence asking her questions like, hey, who do you work for? It's like, oh, I work for the church. It's like, oh, how is it? Have you ever thought about changing jobs? And you see Nora pretty much seem a little distressed about all these questions because it seems like she's never even thought about any of that. And as somebody that I'm sure people, when they get their first job, they kind of just they're fine with it, they're accustomed to it. And when people start asking, why don't you get a new job, it gets stressful. I mean, I've been in that position when people ask me those type of questions, and it's just whatever. But what we see is pretty much Lawrence eventually said goodnight to her, and they kind of go, she goes to sleep. And, Lawrence goes to Hollow, and Hollow's just hating. Hollow's just drinking that haterade. She's just mad dogging Lawrence. Is like, oh, so you're done talking to her? Oh, she's cute. She's not cuter than me, though. And Lawrence is like, I never said that, bro. And, he's eating meat, and then even she takes away his meat. Come on, you can't just steal a man's meat. That's not cool, Hollow. That's not cool at all. But what happens is pretty much, as they continue to banter, you see just Hollow is so annoyed by Nora. It's not it's come on, bro, she's just doing her job, bro. You can't just hate on her like that. And eventually what happens is, they come to an agreement where it's yeah, you're cuter than her, there's no real competition. And she's like, all right, I'll let it slide. It's because she's oh, maybe you fell in love with her. It's oh, she just teasing him, and eventually he teases her back, and she starts laughing about it. And then before, they kind of go, go to sleep, both of them or whatever, we see that she's like, hey, by the way, can I, eat one of the sheeps? Don't be afraid to give me one, a sheep now and here and there, And Lawrence is like, bro, okay, that might have been funny for you, but that's not funny for me at all. So pretty much what happens is the next morning, they wake up and, they continue the journey, and they eventually reach the destination, and, they kind of say their farewells. But, Lawrence, as the Chad that he is, he gives, Nora the payment that he promised her, as well as a little tip, because he was saying like, you always got to make sure that you have good relationships with people, so when they come, when you reunite with them, for business interest, you can have a friendly relationship with them. And in this case, it was the relationship of pretty much the idea of Nora becoming a tailor, because that's what she said she was going to do. She was going to be a tailor. She wants to open her own like little tailor spot, but she doesn't have enough money. That's why she works to eventually accomplish that. And what happens after that is pretty much we see that as they get to the town, Lawrence and Hollow, they go to the checkpoint, and the people are like, what are you bringing? It's like, oh, I got all this armor. And everybody's kind of looking like Lawrence, like kind of like sketched out, or they're looking at him sideways, like well, okay, I guess. Which is like, well, what's the issue? And they don't really, talk about it, but I'm sure that something's gonna play out later in the future. And what we see is pretty much as they proceed to continue their journey, they get to the town, and Hollow, she's just like, hey, it's time to eat. Like, I have not eaten yet. It's like, all right, let's get something to eat. And as they were parting, also you see like she was mad dogging Enoch, Nora's dog, because Enoch can tell that something's off with Hollow. He can tell something's off, his animal instincts. So she was mad dogging Enoch, which was pretty funny. But as they get to the village, they're just chilling, they're vibing, and they're eating and they're having a good time overall. And we see that she's like just drinking, and she's just having a blast. And they eventually reach as they continue, they eventually want to reach the trade organization, the trade society that the merchants are a part of. And we see that Lawrence is like, hey, just so you know, this is like a big deal. You can't just like stumble in there, because you got to be like my wife. They don't just like pretty much like, I promise you I'll get you some food if you just wait out here. And Hollow's like, what is that about? And a nice little cute moment between Hollow and Lawrence that played out was something where she obviously has a little bit of foam from the beer that she was drinking in her lips, and he's like, you have something on you. And then what does she do? She gets near his shoulder and just kind of wipes it off, and once again teases him, and Lawrence is like, oh my god, you gotta pay for that. But just I like how their little chemistry works, and how you eventually see it develop more and more as it goes on. And as the episode starts nearing to its conclusions, we see that he gets to inside of the association, and Lawrence meets like his father figure, the guy that had kind of taught him the ropes, and he even calls him son, because he is the leader of everybody, so he calls everybody their son or daughter. So I thought that was a really cute moment, him reuniting with Lawrence and kind of testing his skills as merchant. And he's like, oh, you become a very smooth talker, haven't you? And they kind of chit chat and reunite, and they just kind of talk for a bit. And while all that is happening, we also see that in the background, somebody from the Imperial Trading Company, from the place that Lawrence got the armor from, in the previous episodes, somebody goes like, hey, has the merchant Lawrence like Craft Lawrence, has anybody named like that shown up in this town? And he's like, I haven't heard anything of it. It's like, okay, well, if they come here, let them deliver this message. And that's how the episode ends. So we don't really know what the message is. We do know that somebody from far away is sending a message to Lawrence. For what might that be, we still don't know, but we do know that somebody's looking for Lawrence, and that's something that keep your eyes open for, because as anime owners, you guys don't know what's about to happen, because I saw the original anime, so I know what's bound to happen, and you guys are in for a roller coaster of an arc that's about to go down. But yeah, so yeah, that's how the episode ended. I think they did a really good job once again introducing Nora's character. I really like her. I think she's great. Little Enoch, cute, wholesome, and once again more establishing of Hollow and Lawrence's relationship. And that's the big thing that I love about the show, their relationship. And once again, you get to see more comedic back and forth between these two, and yeah, just good vibes all around in this week's episode. But yeah, with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's episode? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Spice and Wolf, as well as more anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope you have I can't even speak. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.